Patriots. I'm Lee Watts, and this is Patriot Point, your source for news and analysis from a conservative, Christian, and constitutional point of view. Well, this week we're going to be talking about things in three categories. First of all, on the national level, we're going to be talking about things going on in Ukraine, also things going on at the United States Supreme Court. Then here on the state level, we're going to talk about some of the bills before the legislature, including school choice, medical liberty, and some of the new voter registration numbers. And then third and finally, going to talk a little bit about my campaign. As most of you who watch the program know, I am now a candidate for the United States Congress. But let's talk about some of the news going on. First of all, on a national level. The Ukrainian border crisis. Now, if you've been watching the news at all, you know that Russia basically wants to say, I am taking your wealth, I'm taking your land away from Ukraine. And here's some of the major problems with this, is that we now have the Biden administration blundering this horribly. Remember, a lot of people in the Biden administration are the same people who were in charge back during the Obama administration when Russia said, we're just going to take over Crimea because we want to take their wealth and their land. And what happened? America did virtually nothing. And Biden is showing great weakness. Our enemies are emboldened. He has been willing to activate 8,500 U.S. troops to secure the Ukrainian border, which makes us ask a question. How come he has not mobilized one United States military member to secure our own border? That should be the priority of this administration. Did you know, according to numbers that have come in just this past week from our border security agents, that we have had more than 180,000 people illegally invade the United States from our southern border in just the month of December. That is more than the last 3 December's invasions all added together. Why is the border of some other country a priority when our border of our own country has not been a priority? In the year 2021, the total number of illegal invaders is more than 2 million people. Do you realize that is nearly half of the population of the entire state of Kentucky? I am all for immigration. Our nation was built upon immigration. It was not built upon illegal invasion. And we see that the Democrats under Biden far more willing to secure somebody else's border than they are to secure our own. That's one of the reasons I'm running for Congress. The current congressman Kentucky has in the 2nd District, he's very weak on this topic. But talking about other things going on nationally, the Supreme Court of the United States, we have now an opening on the court. And it's important to note, when did we get this news about Judge Breyer going to resign his position? This announcement did not come from the justice himself. It did not come from the offices of the Supreme Court. This announcement came from the White House. And reports are coming out that Justice Breyer was rather surprised to hear this announcement. So why is this being done? Well, here's the reasons behind it. First of all, it is going to force the judge to step down now instead of later, and it changes the conversation on what is going on in the nation. The thing going on in the news cycle the last week or two has been how incredibly weak and all the problems that Joe Biden has had with his press conference, the Russia debacle, the economic debacle, the Afghanistan withdrawal debacle, one problem after another. And this is trying to focus on anything else than how everything is falling apart under Biden. Number two, this is also going to cause the vote to come up before the Democrats lose control of the Senate. The Democrats and the whole country know that they are about to lose major time in the upcoming elections in November. They're going to lose control of the House, probably lose control of the Senate, and a lot of other races as well on the state levels. So they want this to happen now, because if it actually happened under its natural timing, they wouldn't get the position at all. And it's interesting to note, everybody pay attention. Joe Biden said during the campaign, he has also said this week that he is going to nominate a black woman for the position. I have no problem with a black woman being on the United States Supreme Court. I have a major problem when somebody is chosen not on the content of their character, but simply on the basis of the color of their skin. You'll get the reference I am making here is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s most famous speech, I Have a Dream, where he was talking about his daughters, black women, and he said these words. He has a dream that one day his daughters will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And that should be the priority for selecting anyone, not only for the Supreme Court, but any position, is the content of their character. Oh, and just as a little bit of bonus information, I love to add in history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican. Because we've been fighting the Democrats through racist policies for generations, and they have not changed their modus operandi. It seems every time that Joe Biden gets up and wants to say almost anything, all I can think of is those famous words from the basketball player Michael Jordan.
Stop it. Get some help.
Stop it. Get some help, Joe Biden. You're just messing everything up, and you really should be kept away from the cameras. So that's some of the things going on a national level. Here on the state level, we have two bills that would be about school choice, letting parents decide where they want their kids to go to school instead of being dictated, and having the money follow the student to create competition amongst our own public schools here in Kentucky. These are House Bill number 305 and Senate Bill 50. They both handle that issue slightly different ways, but it's a positive school choice bill. Competition always drives up the quality of a product. We want the best quality education. That's the product that we'd be getting. This would be a wonderful bill, a step in the right direction. Then also want to mention again this week, Senate Bill number 34, commonly known as the Tim Tebow bill, and this would allow homeschool and private school, church school kids that say, listen, I have to pay taxes for all of these public school facilities, then my kids should be allowed to be on the football team or to use the sports facilities, things like that, because I'm taxed for it, but I don't get any say in any of this. That's just taxation without representation. So Senate Bill 34, also about education. I hope you'll contact your legislators about these and many other bills. I want to talk about some medical liberty bills. On my top shelf, about 3 or 4 topics, and one of them is medical liberty, ending all of these mandates. Mentioned it before, I'm going to hit it again. House Bill number 28, which would give you some protection against all of this corporate communism, having to show your vaccine status, violate your privacy, which is supposed to be protected under the 4th Amendment of the Constitution, and House Bill 198, which would say that employers have to provide for exemptions, medical, religious, conscientious. These are bills which have been written now, one of them since the summer, and yet the House leadership refuses to send them to a committee. Now, that is the reason why that I imagine a lot of the people who are on that committee, it's called the Committee on Committees. That's the committee that decides which committee will hear this bill. And these people, they won't even act on this. It's been there for months, won't even send it to a committee. And that's probably the reason why that they have now had people file to run against them in the Republican Party in the primary. One of the people on this committee is David Osborne, and he now has a Republican opponent running at him from the right named Bridget Elhe, if I pronounce that correct. Please forgive me if I mispronounce the name. It's purely by accident. One of the other members on the committee is Representative Chad McCoy. He has a veteran who was discharged because of a vaccine reaction named Candy Massaroni, who is now running against him saying, listen, this is a medical liberty issue, is a huge issue in this race. So Candy Massaroni is running against Chad McCoy for one of those reasons. Another person on that committee is the floor leader, Stephen Rudy, and he has a guy running at him from the right named Christopher Tucker. These are all people running against fellow Republicans because they didn't think that they were doing the things that they should have been doing. I tell you, one of the things they should do is allow the bill to go before a committee, allow the legislature to choose to vote this up or choose to vote it down. What they're doing right now is a little handful of people are stopping the choice of our legislators from accurately representing our voices on medical liberty. Now, before we get off the state topic, I want to talk about some voter registration numbers. Numbers have come in for the end of last year. As of the day since Andy Beshear got inaugurated, Democratic voters in Kentucky have decreased by more than 55,000 people. And since the day Andy Beshear was inaugurated, Republican registrations in Kentucky have increased by more than 122,000 people. Whew, that does not bode well for Andy Pandy. Which leads us to our last thing today, which is my campaign. As most of you know, I announced I am running for the United States Congress up there in Washington, D.C., and I've had a lot of support. I appreciate that. Several people have said, "Listen, Mr. Watts, I'd love to support you, but you don't represent my county, my district." Well, here's the reason why I hope you would support the campaign anyway. Because when someone's in Congress, their vote doesn't just affect their counties. It affects the entire country. And I hope that we'll have a conservative up there representing conservative viewpoints, constitutional viewpoints. If you'd like to learn more about my positions or how you can help, just visit my website, which is leewattskentucky.com. And I hope we can earn your vote through what we've done here on Patriot Point and things you can learn about me on leewattskentucky.com. And finally, I have been told by several people who are in my opponent's camp not to talk about his voting record because that would be, quote, going negative. Well, that makes me ask a question. How come simply reading my opponent's voting record is going negative? I'll tell you the answer to that, since you ask, is because if I read his record on the air, they'd be like, oh, a lot of Republicans are going to get mad because they wouldn't like what he's been doing. So if you'd like to actually find out what he's been doing, visit my website, leewattskentucky.com. We have his record, and keep in mind, I didn't make his record. He did. If he doesn't like it, that's his fault, not mine. Well, that's about all the time that we're going to take for this week. So until next week, I am Lee Watts for Patriot Point, reminding you that liberty is not a spectator sport.